is form and the form elements, then closing form tag. Next, an HTML form contains form elements. There are many elements supported by HTML. Form elements are different types of input elements like text field, checkboxes, radio button, submit button, and many are there. Among them are the first input element. Input element is the most important form element. It is used to display several ways in the type attribute. So this example is input type is equal to text. This defines input type is equal to text. It defines a single line text. Now few more. This is like defines a single line input field for text input. Example, if you write a form with two text input fields, form label is another element in form. Label for, the syntax is label space for is equal to label name within double quotes, first name colon closing label br. Input type is equal to text, so whatever input we give in a form is of type text, and for that input we are giving a id called fname, and name we are giving as fname, and then we are giving a break tag so that after a label and a input box or a text box get in a new line. Then label for is equal to lname, you'll get last name colon, then closing label closing br. This label element, what actually this label element, it notices the use of label element in the example above. The label tag defines a label for many form elements. So directly, if you are having only input fields with no label before that, what to enter? See, if you write enter username or username like that, then only we will enter username. If there is nothing message given or nothing label given for that box, what to write? So the user get confused for that. So we go for a label. When the user will see that particular label, he will just, okay, this is what I have to enter. He will come into that particular conclusion. So that's why this label element is useful for screen reader users, because the screen reader will read out loud the label and the user is focused on the input element. So the label element also helps user. You have radio buttons. So instead of input type is equal to text, what you write? Input type is equal to radio. If you are using checkboxes, you will write input type is equal to checkboxes. So if you write radio means it defines a radio button. What actually is radio button? A radio button is a simple thing. You'll get a circle, small circle, and then followed by some text. And when we are giving radio button, only the user selects one. Like mostly we use these radio buttons to select the gender while the registration of a page is being done. Select your gender, then you will write, will click either male or female. So there we use radio buttons. So if you see an example how to use radio button, input type is equal to radio, id is equal to male, name is equal to gender, value is equal to male, label for is equal to male, slash label br. So when we write this, we'll get a circle followed by male as a text. Next, another thing for a type is submit. So input type is equal to submit means it's create a button actually. or it defines a button for submitting the form to a form handler, where when we click that particular button, it will go to the server. There it will checks the data and then we'll get a response from the server and then displays the content. Like if you see the username password, if you are opening in any, if you are clicking gmail.com and it shows username and password, we'll write username there and then we'll type the password and then we'll press login. This login button, when we press, what happens is it will go to the server, it checks the details of username and password. If both are matches, then only we'll get the control and it will display the page. Similarly, here that type is called submit is used to create a button. So when we click that button, the form handler, typically a page on the server with a script for processing input data. The form handler is specified in the form's action attribute. So action is being performed when we click that, and after performing action, that action is listened and then processed, and then after processing it will get the results. And we are even having actions in our form element. The action attributes define the action to be performed when the form is submitted. So after clicking the button, what action should be performed, that also we have to mention. Usually the form data is sent to a page on the server when the user clicks on the submit button. See, whenever we are clicking on it, it will be sent. If we are not clicking, nothing action is being performed. No action, no information. So here mostly the action page is a PHP file, or in simple we can give a HTML file also, or a JavaScript file. And we are having another attribute called target attribute. The target attribute specifies if the submitted result will open in a new browser tab, a frame, or in the current window. The default value is _self, which means the form will be submitted in the current window. And to make the form result open in new browser, we use the value _blank. In the previous video also we have seen that there are some target attributes. If you are using _blank, it will open in a new tab or a new window. If it is self, it is open in the same, or it is, if you are using top also, it will be open in the same. So when you use _blank, the result will be open in a new window. Next, we have another attribute called method. So the method attribute specifies the HTTP method get or post to be used when submitting the form data. Example, if you use the get method when submitting the form, where actually we write is, we will write it in the form element. Form action is equal to, you have to perform some action. When I are clicking, it will activate this particular action _page. And what type of request you will get from HTTP is, the HTTP means hypertext transfer protocol. So it will activate that HTTP, it will get all the details. Method is called get, means getting all the details. And if we use method is equal to post, it will post all the details what we have typed in our form, that will be posted to that particular action page. So we use post method and submit in the form. Now when to use this get? The default HTTP method when submitting form data is get. However, when get is used, the form data will be visible in the page address field. So when there is a form with 2 or more fields, when you have typed something in the field and if you are clicking the submit button, after clicking submit button, the result or the content of that particular form is visible in the address bar. like if you entered first name is equal to John and last name, that will be shown on the browser. So there is no security here. We cannot uh, it is like whatever you type, even though if you are typing a password, that password will be visible. If you are using method is equal to get, it won't hide the details. It won't allow you to stop seeing. It openly shows the results, what it is being typed in the form. No, when to use post? Always we use post in the form data if it is contain sensitive or personal information. So why we are using post? Because this get will not hide the data. Only post will hide the data. So the mostly while typing passwords or any bank details, post is the best method used, because it should not be visible to the third party, and it won't display the details on the address field. The post has no size limits and can be used to send large amount of data, and the form submission with post cannot be bookmarked. Now here we'll see the list of form attributes. Few more attributes like action. First attribute is accept underscore char set. It specifies the char set used in submitted form. And the second attribute is action. It specifies an address or a URL where to submit the form. And third, autocomplete. It specifies if browser should autocomplete the form. That is, default is always on if it is autocomplete. And then ENC type, it specifies the encoding of the submitted data. And default encoding what we use is URL. This is URL encoded. Next few more form elements that we have seen is first is form. This is the basic. In that form only we'll use the remaining input. Defines an input control. Text area to defines a multi-line input control to give the address or whatever multiple lines of code or information if you want to pump, then we use text area. And labels to give the label for that particular input field, and filtered groups related elements in a form. And we have like opt group, we have select, like this, different tags available for the form. Now we'll see the input element. One of the most used form element is input element. It can be displayed in several ways depending upon the type. If we see that HTML body, h2 input element, h2 form action is equal to something, label for first name, and then if you write label for is equal to lname, then if you see, this is what the output will get. If you write form action here, first name is label, and this is the input box, and submit is the input type is equal to submit, and you will get a button. Now we have another select element which defines a drop down list, so you can select multiple items in that. So example of that select element which we use in form: select id is equal to cars, name is equal to cars, option. So option is another element of form. Option value is equal to Volvo, this is Volvo, and closing option tag. Similarly, option value is equal to something, Sabna option, Fiat, and then close option tag. So like this we have pumped 4 options for cars, and then we have closed all option tags, and then we have closed select tag. Now if we use these particular options with our program, This is what we'll get. The select element defines a drop down list. So choose a car, then we got Volvo, Saab, Fiat. So then we just click any one of the options. So it is showing all the elements drop down list. So the option element defines an option that can be selected. By default the first element is selected. If you observe this in the output, the first element is Volvo, that is selected, which is in color. To define the pre-selected option, then we have to add the selected attribute to the option. Option value is equal to Fiat selected. If you write selected here, it will be automatically selected. If you in the page you can see. For each and everything, if you want to select, you can use that also. And visible values, how many, if it is our drop down box is having hundreds of elements or options available in the form, and here in this example we use the size attribute to specify the number of visible values. Example, if you see select name is equal to cars, size is equal to 3, means in the drop down box it will show only 3 elements. To see the remaining elements, what you have to do is you have to select the scroll button. So option value is equal to Volvo, option value is equal to Saab, option value is equal to Fiat, option value is equal to Audi. So these are the 4 options available. Then we are closing the select tag. So here we are given size is equal to 3, so only 3 elements will be visible. Remaining elements, if you want to see, you have to just scroll down that particular options. So here just see only 3 is visible, and there is a scroll button here. You have to scroll to see the remaining elements. So we use size attribute to specify the number of visible values. Now how to select multiple selections? In general we have only single selection, and to do multiple selections we use multiple attribute to allow the user to select more than one value. Example, select name is equal to car, size is equal to 4, so 4 elements will be shown and 4 will be selected, multiple. Similarly, this is the 4 option values we are having: Volvo, Saab, Fiat and Audi, and closing select. Next, if we see the another form element which is used for mostly pumping large amount of data, which contains we can write more content into that, like passing the address. So that element is text area. The text area element defines a multi-line input field. So text area tag we use name is equal to message. We can specify how many total number of rows to be available in that particular text area and how many columns should be there. So those 2 attributes are available for text area, whereas for input field we don't have that. We will be, the size is limited to the input field, whereas the size is not limited to the text area. We can pump as many text we want with multiple rows and columns. So the row attribute specifies the visible number of lines in a text area. Now if we see the example on that text area, the text area name is equal to message, rows is equal to 10, columns 30, the cat is playing, this is the text given. So the text area element defines a multi-line input field. This is the output. In that particular text field, the cat was playing in the garden was written, and the space is available because there are more number of rows and more number of columns, and the submit button is being given here. Next, if you see, there is another element called button, which is similar to the submit button element. The button element defines a clickable button. Example, button type is equal to button, on click is equal to alert hello world. This alert we used in JavaScripts. Click me and then close. Click me is the text available will be shown on the button. Close button. So if you see the example, HTML body h2 button element, button type is equal to button, on click alert, click me, closing body and closing HTML. This is what we'll get. The button element will get a button with click me as the message. Mostly it is similar to the submit button. Next we are having few more elements, field set and legend, to highlight the form, to make it center, or to give a caption to our form. The field set element is used to group the related data in a form. And the legend element defines a caption for the field set element. And the form action is equal to some action page, field set, legend I have given, label. So this is some program we have written for that. HTML body, H2 grouping P. So this is what we'll get. This is how we'll get the form if we use legend and field set. So we'll get a box type thing. Normal, instead of normal form, we'll get this group of forms or group of elements into one form. Now using this data, we'll created a new program called registration form. So how the registration form will be there in our any page or any website. Before sign up, we need to register to that particular website. So in this program, I have written a registration form program, where in my registration form I am having first name, last name, username, password, and I am giving image, pin, email, college joining date, date of birth. So for first name I have given input type is equal to text, and for password I have given input type is equal to password. When I am giving input type is equal to password, instead of the text we'll get stars. As stars will be displayed if you type something. And input type is equal to file. So here we are using all type of information that is available for type field, for type attribute. Mostly all the values that a type is taking, we are using it to create a registration form. Another, for email, input type is equal to email. When we are giving input type is equal to email, what happens? It will show at the rate, all those things. And joining date means we will get a if you give type is equal to date, we will get a date field, we'll get a calendar, and we can able to select our respective dates and month with year. Date of birth also, it will date we have given. And birth time, here if you give input type is equal to time, what happens? It will allow you to select to time with hour, minutes. Mobile number given as input type is equal to number. Caste input type is equal to text. Aadhaar number is number. Then gender label. Male input type is equal to radio. As gender we have radio buttons because we'll select only one, not multiple. So we have taken this. Then we have taken checkboxes, input type is checkbox. Why we have taken checkboxes? Checkbox allows multiple selection irrespective of radio button. Checkbox, as language known are many, so we can click multiple fields at a time. So for that we have taken input type is equal to checkbox. Then we have taken an opt group. Opt group means having a group for one particular option. So here we are using select, in that we are using opt group. Opt group label we have given statements. State means we can have multiple states in a country. So for that we are grouping the options by using opt group form element. So in that state we have given Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Kerala and Tamil Nadu. So like this we have used maximum number of form elements, and then we have created a registration form. Now if you see the output of our registration page, here I have given first name a text box, last name a text box, username, password, image, pin, email. See college joining date. Here if I click here, it will display the calendar. Date of birth also, when I click here, it will display the calendar. And birth time, if I click that watch symbol, then I will get hour, minutes and seconds. Mobile number, caste, Aadhaar number. Gender, if you observe, these are the radio buttons, male, female and others. And languages known, we have taken as a checkboxes because you can click multiple selections. And upload file is another field we have taken with a button. And the state is a opt group where we can select multiple, we can write multiple data in that. Subdivision is which state, and complete address I have taken a text area, so we can pass that particular information here. So with the forms I can able to do all these things. So this is what about our forms. Thank you.